Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show. I am so excited to have with us today. Our guest is Emmanuel Trinity. He is the founder of Era92 Creative. He calls himself the Chief Jobs Creator. And what he's doing is he's built an enterprise doing amazing graphic design affordably for companies around the world using employees, many of whom have come out of the slums in Uganda, where he himself has roots. So join me in welcoming Emmanuel Trinity to the show today. Emmanuel,
Hey,
welcome. We're
yes,
thrilled to have you here.
it's good to
Thank you
be
for
here.
making time. Thank
Oh,
you for
thank you
making
too.
time.
You're welcome.
We're excited for this conversation because of the inspiring work you're doing. Um, but it seemed to me when I heard about what you're doing, I was thinking, well, this is kind of like Fiverr or Upwork, but you've got something much more sophisticated going on. You're really creating ongoing tools, it's sort of an outsourced creative department for small
Yeah,
and medium sized, even large businesses. Tell us about the work that you're doing.
yeah, definitely. We term it what we call ethical creative outsourcing, and the idea is that people have been able to source ethical goods, from artisans around the world, but they have not really given an eye and ear of where their graphic designing is coming from, and so that's why we came up with a term called ethical creative outsourcing. So what we basically do, we pick up young people from the slums across Uganda, give them the right skills, for 1 year. And then as we level them up to be world-class designers, web developers, and then we go on to serve clients in the United States. But we also knew that we really wanted to serve clients that also have a need. So non-profits that are starting up that don't have enough money to hire an entire creative department. Those are our clients because we want to help them have an entire suite of web developer designers at a fraction flat rate price. And so that's how the company, that's what we do basically at Era92. But it has a background story because I myself, at the age of 9, I was on the streets. And so when I was rescued from the streets, one of the ladies that rescued me asked me one thing, that what's one thing that I can give you that you never go back on the streets? And I told her, if you give me a computer, I'll never go back on the streets. So I used that computer to train myself. And 6 years later, I was picked up by Coca-Cola, talent manager, given an opportunity. I left the slums. And when I left, having met, God and transformed, I went back and I started developing a strong sense of responsibility to actually go back and act on things that I've grown up seeing. And the main thing was youth unemployment. And I realized that there is brilliance that is equally distributed in the slums, but there is no opportunity. And so we came and started this enterprise to bring opportunities to young people in the slums, but also to bring talent ready for companies in the US and elsewhere in the world.
This
So to date, we've created at least 1,800 skill jobs for young people.
Wow, that really is a big deal. That is a huge deal to create 1,800 good jobs in Uganda. Mostly in Kampala. Are the
Yeah.
kids
So
coming from Kampala?
yeah, right now
Yeah,
we have 2 centers in Kampala. Yes.
yeah. And I have visited Kampala, and it is a beautiful city, but there are challenges there as well. And so it's great to see you doing the work that you are and creating the opportunities. And it really is an amazing win-win, right? Because you're creating a program that's so affordable for companies and even substantial nonprofits to be able to afford for $2,000 a month, they can get a really basically a creative design department,
You get it.
at their resource, at the ready all the time, 1 day, two days, same day turnarounds. I mean, it's really quite a program you've put together, quality outputs, and at the same time you are changing lives in permanent, profound ways. um, how did you come up with this transition from I'm a designer to becoming a social entrepreneur changing the world? How did that transition happen?
I think it was a desire to really help young people. So this was the switch that I looked around in my community, and I realized that there was a dying need for change. And remember, during this time when I was studying this, there was so many non-profits, but and I myself, I was on the streets, and I realized that so many things weren't changing by us only giving us food. We had to do something more than just giving someone clothing or food, but then they stay on the streets. So at the age of 19, I came across a book called How to Build Such a Business by Muhammad Yunus. And this is a well-known social entrepreneur who actually invented something about social business. And so I realized that if we can connect, you know, a business to a social problem, I think that was the best way to help young people. And one of the things that we have actually achieved by that is giving young people the dignity to own their future and their careers. So we do not predict that, but we just give them the tools, and then they become these global citizens. So many of our young people are able to work with companies in the US, UK, and all over the world, something that would never they would have never even dream of. And so to me, I think Muhammad Yunus and the desire for me to create a change in my community really led me to become a social entrepreneur.
Yeah, that is really a wonderful story. I mean, he would be thrilled. Maybe you've met him and talked to him about this, but he would be thrilled to hear this story.
Yeah.
I have a few connections to him. I've tried to get him on the show a couple of times, and I've never been successful in getting him on the show. But he's obviously a Nobel Peace Prize winner who has changed the world with his innovation around using business to address poverty, especially, and it works remarkably well. And who'd have thought, right? If you look back in time, a lot of people would have said that only nonprofits can address poverty because the low income people don't have money, so you can't make
Yeah.
a profit. And yet here you are proving that there are models that are world changing, um, and very successful as a
Yeah.
business, doing things that a nonprofit really cannot do. So kudos to
Yeah.
you. Kudos to you.
And
And
we have this saying at Era 92 that without profit there's no impact, and it has been true to us, and we try to keep it like we're here to make a profit and be a real business, but at the same time be able to have lasting social impact within the community.
yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point. Uh, it's tempting sometimes, even for investors, to think about social entrepreneurship as something we support with something more approaching a grant than an investment. But when we invest with an eye toward getting our money back, it forces a discipline to look for companies that will make a profit, and the
Mhm.
companies that make a profit will are the ones that can have an impact. If you don't have a profit, you go out of business and you have no impact. So
Exactly.
that's a really a profound point, important to reiterate. I wonder if you would just take a minute here and tell us about an example or two of some of the young people who you have been able to help them make a transition. Can you
Mm.
give us an example or two, a story or two to illustrate your work?
Wow, I didn't know you're gonna bring this up, but that's really dear to me. There are a lot of young people. When I say 1,800 young people, someone might think that, oh, maybe those are statistics. Actually, these are really young people that have been transformed. But one of them definitely is the first one that I first worked with, and that was Megan. Her name is called Megan, and the way I met Megan is a very, very interesting story. So this is when I had quit my job from Coca-Cola after 6 months, and everyone called me crazy. So I went back to the slums, and it was a Friday, and there was a crusade at the church, and we had this overnight. And this girl came to me, and she was at the verge of selling her body. She had given up on life because her dad, who was taking care of six siblings, fell off a building and broke his spinal cord. And so now this girl was stuck with a bedridden, sick dad and also had to find food for other five siblings. What happened to her in the community where she grew up? Lots of poverty, no hope. Everyone told her, you know what? The only quick way to get, $1, $2 a day is to sell your body to provide for your family. And so this girl came to me to ask for advice, and I told her, you know what? You are very, you're in church, and as Christians, we don't believe in that. And so, you know what? I won't allow you to do that. But what we're gonna do, please join me in this program that I'm studying. I'm studying with 3 people. If you bring 2 other people, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to pay you for 2 months. And if you get these things, I'll be able to get you a job. I was just guessing. This was a guesswork. I hadn't really figured out this model. So Megan accepted, and she brought other 2 friends. And I brought one other friend of mine called, a wise man, and we started a class. So surprisingly, after 4 months with my guidance, this girl was able to design a website on her own. She was able to design a website in Drupal and WordPress. And I was like, this is it. And so Megan became my first employee. But just like that, this girl was able to get things faster than I did, because she was able to get a guide that guided her through everything and every mistake that I made. And so when that happened, now after 5, 6 years, Megan is still with us, leading a department of 5 other young people. She's been able to transform her family. She's sponsoring 2 of her siblings through school, and she's been able to start a poultry farm with her dad that is taking care of the family. And that's one impact. That's the impact one job can do in a family here in Africa.
Yeah, it is amazing the transformative impact of a job. And it's
Yes.
something that a donation, giving someone food, giving someone clothes can't match.
Yeah.
So it really is profoundly important. And I'm grateful to see you thriving in this environment. Um, well, listen, everybody, we're here with Emmanuel Trinity. And Emmanuel is the founder and head of Era92 Creative. It's a social enterprise that provides graphic design for companies in the United States and elsewhere, using designers, many of whom have come from slums in Kampala in Uganda. This is an amazing story. When we come back, we're going to talk to Emmanuel about his superpower. So stick around. Don't miss this show. Don't miss the opportunity to hear from crowdfunding luminary Sherwood Neese of Crowdfund Capital Advisors at the next Super Crowd Hour webinar on October 18th at 1 Eastern. Woody will share the implications of reaching the $2 billion funding milestone in the regulation crowdfunding market. Register today at thesupercrowd.com. Want to learn from the world's great changemakers? Find your superpower. Subscribe to the Superpowers for Good newsletter at superpowersforgood.com. Make your strengths into superpowers that will change the world. Join the super crowd today. Superpowers4good.com.
Hi, I'm Julianne Meyer, the host of Own Your Wellness, and you can watch my show on Mondays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific on Achieve TV right here on E360 TV. Remember, there's more to health and wellness than broccoli and burpees.
Welcome back, everyone. We're excited to have today with us Emmanuel Trinity. He is the head of Era92 Creative. He calls himself the Chief Jobs Creator, and that's what he's all about. We're going to be talking to Emmanuel now about his superpower. So stick with us now. Emmanuel, you have really accomplished extraordinary things, working your way out of the slums of Kampala to a job at Coca-Cola, leaving that behind to launch a social enterprise that is now thriving with hundreds of contractors who are doing amazing work, who, like you, follow that same trajectory. I mean, this is an amazing story. You've done amazing things. What is your superpower?
Wow, that's a deep question. But I think my superpower is very, very simple. Is that first of all, when I accepted God in my life, that was the very first thing. But besides all of that, one of the things that happened is that I was able to say yes and leave everything behind. And there's nothing I can say beyond that. Many of us, God has given us so many things in our lives. He has given us so many gifts in our lives. But remember, we really take long to say yes to these things. Even if it's not that, we have so many inner voices in our lives. We have so many things that we believe that we can do, but we don't do them until later. So one thing that I can say that really made all these things happen is that I said the yes to that inner voice, to that inner calling, that I should go back and help my fellow friends. And I believe each one of us, God has given us these gifts or this desire to make our environments, our communities better. And if we can tap into that, I believe all of us can be, superheroes and be able to do super good. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yeah, I love that.
You are doing super good, and
Yes.
you are to many people a superhero. I want to really try to understand better this superpower, an ability to say yes. And I think I don't want to limit or box in your superpower, but I think part of what you're saying is saying yes to that inner voice. Maybe
Yeah.
it's that inner divinity, that some sort of divine spark, but whatever it is, you're saying you're listening to it and heeding it, and that is a superpower. Can uh, you kind of suggested, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you've suggested that Era92 is a manifestation of this superpower.
Yeah.
Can you think of another specific example that would help illustrate how you employ this ability to listen to that inner voice and take action and say yes?
Yeah. I think, that's a good one. I think the ability to act on it is also different from having it, executing around your superpower. So one of the things that really hinder us is the failure to jump off the cliff. And so many times, if you don't have the wings to fly, then what are you going to be depending on? And so for me, in my case, I would be honest. I had God in my life. And I know that He's the one that rescued me from the streets. He's the one that rescued me from the danger that I've gone up. And me personally, I do not have anything that can back that up. I knew that all my story was covered by Jesus in my life. And so when that happened, I said, you know what? If He brought me from the slums, if He's given me this inner voice, and one of the verses that I really stick with in the Bible is called First Peter chapter 4, verse 10, that as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's very grace. So I knew that I had already received a lot of gifts from God. And so for me to fly off the cliff with no wings, I knew that I had God in my life that would still look around even if I lost this job that was paying me a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's it.
That really is a helpful explanation, and it takes so much courage in life to make hard decisions. But if you really believed that
Mhm.
that inner voice is divine and
Yes.
that God's going to help you is
Mm.
going to help you fulfill that inner voice, the guidance you're getting there. If you really believe He's on your side, then you could do anything, couldn't you?
Exactly. You got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
Well,
and
that's wonderful. Now, I think there are um, a lot of people who are listening to this that have, there are some for whom they're going to resonate with, and they're going to say, "Oh yes, of course, that's exactly true. It's how I feel. I know that
Mm,
inside my own heart." Right? There are
mm,
others who are going to be saying, "Oh, I used to feel that way," or
mm.
"I know people who feel that way, but I don't feel that way." What would you say to them? Do you have an invitation, a message for them? In a way, I'm reluctant to make this into a Sunday school class, but at the same time,
Yeah.
this is your wisdom. This is your story. I don't want to deprive you of the opportunity to tell us how does that work?
Mm. I think I will loop this back to what you call it a superpower. It's I know I've never used that in my life, so I like the fact that you're having that. It's empowering to know to relate it as a superpower. But I will say this that whoever that is listening in, and by any chance in their communities, in their families, in their workspace, they have felt that there is something that they're not comfortable with, and they would wish to change it. That's their superpower. That's their calling. And the only thing they need to do is to act upon it and make it a reality. And so, if you're watching this, I know there is a time in your life whereby you felt there was something that has to be changing in my community. And that's you, and that's you. And you're the one to champion that change in that community. So that's all for me.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, Emmanuel, let's wrap up here with a little bit of discussion around becoming a client. Most of my audience is much more likely to be a client for you than to be an employee. So
Mm.
let's talk to that audience as potential clients for a minute. Tell them how they can learn more about the program. Give them just a teaser, a little pitch on the program, and how they can learn more, and then how they can connect with you if they're interested, getting to the next step, signing up.
Thank you so much for that opportunity. I would start by this. We have become a conscious generation. We are really conscious about where we source our food, where we source our clothing. Is this company is sustainable? Where we source our energy, and with that, for me, it's a question: have you ever thought about where you get your marketing needs or your creative work being done? If it's fiber, have you ever been curious about where does this all come from? And to me, I know many people really think about India, many people think about Philippines, but I always ask a question: why haven't they thought about Africa? And when you look at the demographics, Africa is way up there right now in terms of development. Over 1.4 billion people and a population of about 400 million young people to date that are aged between 15 and 25. And what does that mean? We have a workforce that is ready to work, but there are not enough opportunities. Could your company be one of those companies that could really think about and break the norm and think about Africa as a source of talent? And so today could be your opportunity to really come and work with us here at Era92, because we are definitely doing exactly that. We are getting young people off the streets, in the slums, in the trenches, giving them really amazing skills and talents in design, website development, graphic designing, and then we just connect them right to you to be helping you on an ongoing basis with your creative needs. And so if you're a company and you're definitely thinking about, okay, we need marketing, we need logos, we need posters, I need my newsletters being sent out every month, we are a company that can help you do that. And beyond that, you'll be creating meaningful jobs, meaningful gigs in Africa. So the way to engage with us is mainly simple. If you go to www.era92creative.com, you'll be able to see a lot of ways that you can engage with us. You can decide to engage with us on a monthly basis, where we are providing monthly resources, or you can just decide to do one-off projects with us. And so that's pretty much it.
Well, that's fantastic. I really appreciate you taking a minute to share that, and we are grateful for all that you're doing, and we want to wish you every conceivable success. The work you're doing is so vitally important and so good. We want to see you succeed, and hope we can have you back in in 5 years to hear great stories of incredible scale.
Thank you so much for having me, Devin. It's really a pleasure. Thank you so much for accepting to have us on a call. That was like a surprise, and you were so open to it. So God bless you.
All righty. Let's do some
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Let's do it.